Apartheid, honoring the past by telling the story. Apartheid is one of the darkest periods in South African history, a time when laws institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination on a massive scale. Spanning from 1948 to the early 1990s, apartheid was not just a system of governance, it was an entrenched method for controlling and oppressing the majority of South Africa's population. In this video, we explore how apartheid operated, its devastating impacts, and the lessons it holds for us today. By telling this story, we honor the resilience and courage of those who lived through it and aim to support greater awareness for a more just future. To understand apartheid, we must first examine its roots. Long before 1948, racial inequality had already become woven into South Africa's fabric. During colonial rule under the Dutch and later the British, racial hierarchies structured daily life. Indigenous African populations had their lands seized and were often forced into grueling labor. In 1948, the National Party ascended to power, solidifying these practices into law under the apartheid system. Officially, apartheid aimed to separate racial groups to supposedly preserve their cultures and identities. In reality, it was a tool to maintain white dominance over politics, the economy, and society. Apartheid found ideological footing in white supremacy. At its heart, it sought to control the movement, opportunities, and lives of Black, Indian, and colored South Africans to ensure the prosperity of the white minority. Apartheid was far from informal discrimination, it was a legal system meticulously designed to segregate and subordinate the majority of South Africa's population. Key laws systematically stripped non-white South Africans of basic rights. One of the foundational laws was the Population Registration Act, which classified every South African into one of four racial groups: Black, Indian, colored, or white. Classification governed all aspects of life, from where a person lived to whether they could attend certain schools or hold specific jobs. Another law, the Group Areas Act, designated living areas for each racial group, forcibly evicting thousands of non-white families from their homes. Non-white South Africans could not own land in designated white areas and were often relocated to overcrowded, under-resourced areas or rural homelands far from economic opportunities. Pass laws were another grim feature of apartheid. Under these policies, Black South Africans were required to carry pass books at all times, which documented where they could live, travel, or work. This system created a constant sense of surveillance, restricting movement and ensuring control over Black labor. Racial classification wasn't just about identity, it directly dictated a person's level of freedom and opportunity. The classification process itself could be arbitrary and deeply divisive, like in the US. Officials often relied on physical features, such as skin color, the texture of hair, or even the shape of a nose, to determine someone's racial group. This system resulted in heart-wrenching situations where families were torn apart because members were classified differently. A colored parent might have a child classified as Black, subjecting them to entirely different sets of laws and restrictions. In essence, apartheid turned race into a bureaucratic tool of oppression. One of the most visible ways apartheid controlled society was through relocation. The Group Areas Act mandated that cities and towns be divided by race, often at disastrous costs for non-white communities. Families were forcibly removed from their homes and relocated to underdeveloped peripheral areas known as townships. Urban areas were preserved for whites in most cases, allowing them access to better infrastructure, schools, healthcare, and jobs. Meanwhile, non-whites were relegated to rural homelands created under apartheid. These homelands were economically barren, overcrowded, and disconnected from urban centers. This deliberate marginalization entrenched generational poverty and social dislocation. Life under apartheid was not just governed by the law, it infiltrated every aspect of daily existence. Schools were strictly segregated, with vastly unequal systems for white and non-white students. Non-white schools were underfunded, overcrowded, and designed to prepare students for lives of subservience. Public facilities such as hospitals, transportation, beaches, and even benches were racially segregated. Non-whites faced systematic humiliation, constantly reminded of their inferior status by signs enforcing segregation. Simple acts, such as using the wrong bathroom or sitting in a white-only area, could lead to arrest or worse. Employment, too, was governed by apartheid laws. Non-whites were often limited to unskilled labor jobs with poor wages, while whites dominated professional sectors. Black South Africans, even in urban areas, required permits to work and were frequently subjected to brutal treatment by employers and law enforcement. The pervasive humiliation of apartheid inflicted deep psychological scars. Constantly surveilled and dehumanized, many lived in fear, anger, and despair. Yet, despite these immense hardships, non-whites demonstrated incredible resilience, finding ways to resist, build communities, and sustain hope. While apartheid sought to strip away agency, it also sowed the seeds for a powerful resistance movement. Across decades, individuals and groups resisted apartheid through protests, strikes, and political advocacy in South Africa, and Black in the US. As a form of protest, law enforcement officers under the apartheid regime used sniper rifles to kill children going to school and going home from school. Organizations like the African National Congress, ANC, Pan-Africanist Congress, and South African Communist Party worked tirelessly to challenge apartheid laws. Leaders like Steve Biko, Albertina Sisulu, and Nelson Mandela became symbols of resistance. Grassroots movements flourished, carried by the bravery of ordinary people who risked imprisonment, torture, and death to challenge injustice. Resistance often took the form of mass protests, such as the Sharperville Massacre in 1960, where police killed 69 peaceful protesters, or the Soweto Uprising of 1976, where students protested inferior education systems. These moments exposed apartheid's brutality to the world, drawing international condemnation. International solidarity also played a crucial role. Activists abroad organized boycotts, sanctions, and protests, pressuring governments and businesses to sever ties with the apartheid regime. This global movement helped weaken the economic and political support for apartheid, hastening its downfall. By the 1980s, apartheid faced mounting challenges. Economic sanctions strangled South Africa's global trade. Growing unrest within the country made it increasingly difficult for the government to maintain control, while diplomatic pressure continued to escalate. The first major breakthrough came in 1989, when President F.W. de Klerk began dismantling apartheid policies under intense national and international pressure. In 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from prison after 27 years, sparking hope for a new South Africa. The road to democracy was marked by negotiation and compromise. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial democratic elections, bringing Nelson Mandela to power as the nation's first black president. This election symbolized a monumental moment, the end of apartheid and a new beginning for the country. Although apartheid officially ended, its impacts linger. Decades of systemic racism and inequality left a legacy of economic disparity, social tensions, and infrastructural inequality. Non-white South Africans continue to face many challenges rooted in the apartheid era, including poverty, lack of access to education, and unemployment. The psychological scars of apartheid also run deep. Reconciliation efforts, such as the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, sought to bring healing by creating a platform for victims and perpetrators to share their stories. While this was an important step, the wounds of apartheid require ongoing attention to achieve true equality and justice. As we reflect on apartheid's history, it is vital to recognize its lessons for today. Apartheid serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of systemic racism and state-sanctioned discrimination. By studying this history, we can work to combat modern forms of inequality and build a world that values justice, inclusion, and equality. Honoring the stories of those who lived through apartheid ensures that their courage and resilience are not forgotten. We must continue to shine a light on these histories, both to honor the past and to educate future generations on the importance of fighting oppression. Remembering apartheid is not just about the past, it's about shaping the future. Together, we must reject prejudice, challenge injustice, and promote a more compassionate, inclusive world. Let apartheid's lessons inspire us to take action wherever we see inequality, ensuring a brighter tomorrow for all. Help us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers and leave a comment below saying I subscribe, and I'll reply back to as many comments as possible.